begins. Begin war. War. Begin war. 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 Begin war. The saga begins. Begin war. War. Begin war. The saga begins. Begin war. War. Begin war. 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 Begin war.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VGL Challenger Series. It's Split 2, Week 1 and Day 2. And unfortunately, there is no ex-scoundrel to do this job, so it will be myself, Darcy, being the front man for today's show. I've got with me a brand new face in Envision, and of course, the regular of Tasty Bacon. Envision, great to have you here today. Hope you're feeling great.
It's absolutely great to be here, and really glad I'm able to do this. Thank you.
No worries. And Tasty, you know, obviously you're an old fart over here, but hopefully you're feeling great as well.
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not that old, Dowsy. So maybe in the Vainglory scene I am, but overall, not really. But definitely excited to get these games underway and see who's going to continue to move on in the Challenger Series.
Yeah, that's it. Today we are seeing who will be progressing from the round of 16, as well as having an elimination match coming up shortly. At the end of the show, we'll work out who that is going to be. And of course, these teams are playing for not a spot in the Vainglory 8. It's a little bit different here in Summer Season Split 2. They are playing for the chance to face off against North America's #1 Challenger Series team from the VIS League. So the first from Europe versus the first at North America will be playing in a show match at the Unified Western Live Championships this summer. And so it's a great opportunity for some of these players who perhaps haven't had the live experience to compete yet. So really awesome prize for those guys, of course, as well as the monetary prize that comes along with placing in the top 4 of the Challenger Series. We've got Late Cobras and Arcane Esports on the go, ready to jump into this game. So we will do just that and get this draft underway for these two teams. I'm sure they are rearing to go, and hopefully my Vainglory does start the draft. Here we go, guys. We are jumping into draft.
All right, so starting things off, Late Cobras will be on the clock for the ban. You're pretty much expecting to see Baron Grace banned away in the majority of the games. It's what we've been seeing thus far throughout the day yesterday in both Europe and North America. Kind of just the top 2 bans for almost all of these challenger teams. Oh!
Surprise land there.
That's
Celeste
different.
coming through.
It's you don't often see a Celeste banned away, so clearly there's someone on Late Cobras who has played a lot of Celeste and is really looking to make a name for themselves as a Celeste one trick.
Yeah, evidently, but it is going to be Grace then first pick, Lyra taken immediately afterwards. Idris for Arcane, you don't want to give an Idris Grace combo over to your opponents, and so very likely to be the selection here, which would open up then a Kestrel for the side of Late Cobras, who is generally regarded as one of the counters into an Idris.
Going to be Vox locked in here. We'll have to see what the jungle pick is coming through. They're hovering Kestrel, which would be a little bit strange locking into the Idris, considering Idris has very good assassination threat against the Kestrel.
Yep, generally going through that is going to be correct one, but Kestrel nonetheless is going to be picked up there. So that's going to be the last pick for a Late Cobras.
Now we'll have to find out what jungler comes through. Tasty, do you have any thoughts to what kind of jungler may be good into this composition? Oh, never mind.
A glaive. Glaive would make a lot of sense here. That's
great analysis right there, Tasty. Hit that one on the head there. Those are your compositions locked in. It's going to be number 8 seed versus number 9 seed. So this is a really important matchup for all these guys here, considering the fact that they are very equal in their rankings, in their I guess, seeding. So should be a fun series to kick us off here. Of course, we'll have to see which one of these guys gets the upper hand. I'm looking just at the compositions. I probably favor the composition of Arcane Esport, but I guess we'll find out very shortly as we do jump onto the Halcyon Fold.
Well, looking at these teams, it seems like Late Cobras here has a little bit of an advantage in late game, at least in my opinion. They have the Vox over on the other side, though. Glaive, Lyra are gonna fall a little bit off in late game, not too much, but again, the hyper carry in the name of Vox does usually end up being a huge damage dealer in this late game for Late Cobras, I believe.
Yeah, and this is actually a really intriguing matchup to me just because there's a lot of names here that we recognize. And if anyone who's been following the challengers over the past season or two would also recognize, Rom Gemsword has been a substitute for Vainglory 8 teams. Slain is another name that we've seen around. Fateless and Itachi have both been in the scene for quite some time. So this should be a really excellent matchup as we see already right off the bat. Both captains and laners going at it.
Yep, a lot of early aggression coming through from both of these teams. Of course, lane-wise, I do believe Lyra and Idris are going to have a little bit of a better time since Lyra does have a heal to put through, so definitely the sustain coming through for the side of Arcane Esports is going to matter in the lane here.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that with the way that both of these teams played, because they both did such similar movements. Fateless needs to be careful here, but should be okay just walking away from Slain as he tried to rotate up. But I was very surprised that we didn't see any really early jungle aggression. That's one of the things that Grace is so well known for, is how strong she can be in the level 1 jungle skirmishes, stealing away camps from opponents, things of that nature. And one of the very common jungle starts we see is the two captains trying to make aggressive moves while the junglers just get to level 2 and then look for a fight immediately. But we didn't see that from either of these two teams, both of them opting to just really try and put a focus on the lane and making sure their two carries are able to farm up.
Yep, that is definitely true, but it might be as well that it's just a game 1, so there's no need to put overly aggressive moves on the board just yet. So both teams kind of opting to play it safe, feel each other out here in this game 1.
And so now with all 3 members up in the lane, we could be getting our first fight here.
Yep, after burn in, it's gonna come through. Kestrel activates the camo, he's gonna be able to get away, and now Vox is gonna jump away as well, as Glaive is gonna fall back himself. But all 3 members still staying in lane, so a Glimmer shot's coming through onto the Lyra. Grace is gonna jump in once again, but gets hit more than he does damage himself. But the Glimmer shots are definitely chunking them down. After burn through, Kestrel's gonna be in a bad spot. He's gonna fall. First blood to come through for Arcane Esports, and Glaive does pick that one up.
Yeah, it was a really nice second afterburn. The first one I thought was a little bit, the decision of who to target was a little strange. They had the Grace already at half health and had a great afterburn opportunity onto her, but they opted to go for one of the 2 damage dealers instead. Sticking around, they were able to catch the Kestrel a little bit too far forward and solidify that kill. But while it is first blood bonus is always nice, they're going to get the Ancient Treant off of this as well. And it's definitely just putting that pressure and putting that fear of the Glaive into the minds of late Cobras is what's more important about that early gank.
Yep, as actually we have a little bit of aggression in the jungle. Late Cobras themselves are invading here, and they're gonna find Lyra in the push here. Lyra's gonna be able to get away. But it seems like late Cobras are now starting to pick up a little bit of jungle aggression here with the Grace and Kestrel.
And this is something that they have to be doing. When you have this Grace Kestrel, they're so strong in the early game, you really need to be trying to make plays happen in the jungle. You can steal away a lot of camps right from underneath a Glaive. You just have to be wary of afterburns into a wall and rotations coming down from Fateless. But because Vox, with a Poison Shiv, is able to clear waves fairly quickly, you can keep pressure on the lane with your carry, which frees up your jungle and your captain to make those rotations into the jungle without really having to worry about the rotation coming down from your opposing laner. So I'm really happy to see that late Cobras are even a little bit more and really try and push the issue in the jungle.
Yep, well, Kestrel's early game damage is pretty insane with those Crystal Bits and Crystal Bower build as well, so the Glimmer shots are definitely going to chunk down Glaive as we see both teams in the lane once again. The afterburn through, he's going to land onto Vox. The Imperial Sigil to come through, but oh, Glaive is taking so much damage, he's going to fall. Kestrel's pretty low himself. That Fountain's going to come through, however, from the side of late Cobras is they're going to try to keep the aggression going here. The Glimmer shots, one shot, one kill's going to land onto Idris. The Imperial Sigil is going to keep Idris pretty healthy here. And I think Lyra's going to be able to heal themselves up under this turret as late Cobras seem to want to push this turret down.
Yeah, they're going to be sticking around, getting some good damage in. They don't really have to worry because the Idris is still so far away from having massive power spikes. Obviously, even with just the Frostburn, I guess a squishier target can still do a lot of damage, but it was strange to me that Arcane went for that fight. They could have just looked at the items and seen there's a fountain available for Ram Gem Sword, whereas Itachi did not have one at the time. It is never a good idea to go and try and fight an opponent while they have a fountain and you don't. It is just such an impactful item that if you're behind, but oh my goodness, diving under the turret. Kuros.
Glaive's gonna run away. Glaive is gonna try to run away. Kestrel's gonna move there. Glimmer shots are gonna come through. Lyra is taking a lot of damage. The slow from Grace. One shot, one kill's gonna land onto Lyra, but it's not too impactful there. They're not gonna be able to pick up the kill. But yeah, for sure, that fountain made all the difference in that fight there. As Kestrel was falling pretty low there, so the fountain did for sure keep Kestrel in a fighting shape there. As Grace is gonna go in now. Kestrel still around there, but the knockup is not gonna land from Grace, and Faithless is gonna be able to get away under the turret there. As Glaive is just now rotating into the lane himself, so they're gonna look to defend this turret.
Yeah, we already know Kuros likes to go aggressive with this Glaive, so we could be seeing, especially with Grace having just recalled, although I'm not sure if they're aware of that fact. They're about to find out, as X-Dragon immediately ducking back underneath this turret when Kuros moved forward. So good job by Late Cobras keeping themselves safe. This rotation from Arcane was hoping to catch out some jungle camps, but unfortunately nothing there but the shop camp for them to try and clean up. Now Itachi could be in a little bit of trouble as the rest of Arcane has to rotate up.
Lyra is gonna get bursted down there as the rest of Arcane now makes it under the turret, but Dr. Burn to come through onto Vox. The fountain being activated instantly, the knockup to come through from Grace. He's gonna put a tent on the plan of Arcane Esports, and one shot, one skill's gonna land as Kestrel picks up that kill onto the Glaive there. Kuros falling. And now that opens up the turret damage once again for the side of Late Cobras, and that should be a turret as well here, since Lyra is only halfway through into the lane. So, yep, the turret's gonna fall here.
And Late Cobra's just doing a really good job with these rotations. They recognize that the entirety of Arcane, with the exception of Itachi, were not in the lane. They positioned themselves to be able to catch them as they rotated back up. Instead, they just found Itachi, who was alone in the lane up in the top brush. Quick and clean kill, and then able to easily set up another one as once the Lyra is not there, it becomes so easy for Late Cobras to try and find aggression onto one of these two damage dealers of Arcane, and then it was just an easy push onto the turret. So Late Cobra's doing a really good job of rotations, but now they might be in trouble.
Yep, after when you come through, a little bit of damage onto Kestrel. Kestrel's gonna be able to get away as Grace rotates back, activates the ultimate instantly to heal up Grace, or Kestrel, sorry. As Glimmer shots are gonna come through, the silence from Box. Watch out, one kill's gonna land onto Idris. Idris falls. It's 1-0 right now. Glaive is gonna fall, and Lyra is the last man surviving. He's gonna be able to run away with the Imperial Sigil movement boost there. As seems like Kestrel does wanna get that kill here. Glimmer shot is gonna land, but it's only one of those, so it's not gonna be too much damage onto Lyra as he's gonna try to defend this turret here. But 1 versus 3, I don't think he can do too much here. And if the side of Late Cobra's focus on him, he might fall as well. So actually does stall out this turret, so Late Cobras don't get this one down just yet.
Late Cobras are playing this so smart. I mean, that was the situation. Itachi went so far past them while they were working on the turret, trying to just be a distraction, trying to prevent them from getting damage on the turret. Late Cobras were not having any of it. They got as much damage on the turret as they could, dropping it to about half health before even bothering to try and turn and take that kill. It would have been an easy kill for them, but they wouldn't have gotten anything off of that kill. So the focus on the objectives is something that we talk about all the time in both Challengers and Vainglory 8 is teams, the kills are great, but if you don't make anything happen off of a kill, it's not really going to be that much of a benefit to you. So Late Cobras recognized this, saw an easy kill opportunity, but realized they wouldn't have been able to gain anything off of it, and instead just focused the damage on the turret to make that an easier target for them in the future.
Yep, after to come through, actually on to catch our Arcane Passage, and the Fight's gonna ensue. The heal coming through from Grace is gonna keep Kestrel alive for a second there, but Vox is beating down on the side of late Cobras, and now Lyra as well as Glaive are both alive. They're running away. Vox is gonna be there. Stun lands onto Grace. The damage to come through. Will it kill Vox? No, it won't. Lyra's auto attacks will, however, and Grace versus Lyra. Lyra should fall here. The heal to come through, and Grace is not gonna be able. The support's only surviving there in that fight, but back to the point of the turret, for sure, if you get an objective in the name of turret, it opens up the map to a whole lot of control there. So objectives really do matter here in these games, for sure.
And Arcane, at least they are not getting down about this deficit they're behind currently. They're still looking for fights. They had a really nice engagement in that last one with the Arcane Passage, and it's just a little bit of an unfortunate situation that the ultimate from Rom Gemsword was enough to keep Slain alive just long enough to make that an even trade. And then, of course, I mean, Glaive, I've been very impressed with Kuros on this Glaive. Been able to find engagements, find lots of damage. Fateless, now that he's starting to build up, is looking for that Brook Myth. Actually, hold on, here's a fight.
Arcane Passage forward, yep. Grace is going to be focused on. He's going to heal. It's not going to matter, however. He's going to fall. Vox is going to be chased down as well. He's going to fall. One shot, one kill's going to clean up Lyra, and then Kestrel is surviving for now and should back off here in a second as the side of Arcane Esports are looking to push turret of their own, actually. So they might get this turret. Actually, they're going to get this turret before the side of Late Cobras takes the second turret. So taking a lead here in this game.
Yeah, and Fateless on this Idris. Now that the two items are completed, very close, I believe actually has the gold to go and buy a Broken Myth. This is going to be a terrifyingly strong Idris. You see the chakrams. Oh my goodness, Slain!
The damage to come through from Glaive is insane there. Bursts down Kestrel, and Grace is going to be pushed away by the side of Arcane Esports. But as you were saying, right now, the damage is pretty insane from Glaive, so proving that there. But Kestrel, of course, face checked as well onto a trap, so Arcane Esports did have a chance to see that one coming miles away, as they're gonna back off with this aggression right now. Just gonna farm up the lane, so Idris can get a little bit more money and buy maybe a few more items here.
Yeah, and Slain has to be so careful about making movements like that. There's not a single defensive item in the inventory for Kestrel, and that's why Kuros, even though Kuros was starting that fight at about half health, was able to easily take the 1v1, because it just Kestrel melts right now if she gets targeted. So Slane's gonna have to make sure to stay on the back lines and avoid taking unnecessary damage, because just how quickly they will go down. And obviously Kuros and Fateless, they know this. There's gonna be a giant target on Kestrel's back. They just want to be able to dive in, get onto her first and foremost. If they can kill Kestrel, they can win these fights. And so watch for them to be looking to try and target them. Rom Gemsword is another good target for them, because if you can force Grace to have to use her ultimate on herself. Ooh, nice portal.
Bulwark's gonna come forward. Oh, it pushes Kestrel back. The heal to come through from Grace. However, Glaive is staying way too far forward. Vox is beating them down with the out attacks for now. But all of this side of Arcane Esports are pretty low there. Grace is gonna give the chase going. The slow to come through. Vox is not gonna be able to catch them. The Bulwark to stop the advance. And now they might try to turn this one around here with the sigil to come through. And now, yep, Grace is gonna fall here as Idris is gonna advance forward. Vox is gonna fall. Double kill for Fateless there. Didn't even have to use an ult, and now a gold miner on top of that is gonna skyrocket them in terms of money into the lead.
And really nice fight there. Fateless able to kite that out extremely well. Body block the one shot so that the gold miner can't get stolen. 300 gold each getting added onto the coffers of members of Arcane. And you can see they've got themselves about a 3,000 gold lead now, as they've been able to turn this game completely on its head. Fateless with this Idris really starting to make plays. Kuros has had some beautiful afterburns, and these engagements from Itachi are on point. They know that if they can get onto the Kestrel, they can win and the fights very quickly. So the Arcane Passages have been getting right onto Kestrel, the Bright Bulwark making it so that she cannot get away. Crystal Sentry going to be taken down. Maybe another engage coming through here.
Yep, it's a
Nope.
side of our... Nope! Anticlimactic. The Kraken has won now, so the next fight is going to determine who gets the Kraken, unless one of these teams wants to go for a sneaky Kraken. But I don't think Late Cobras can really do it, since the side of Arcane Esports has so much traps down. They have so good vision around that Kraken area that they can see almost every move that Late Cobras makes. And there's one. Arcane passing forward once again. The bulwark to come through. They're focusing on to Kestrel once again. He's gonna fall. Foxy's doing all he can with the auto attacks. He's stacking up as fast as he can. Grace is gonna be in trouble now, as he's gonna be the next target to focus. Idris gets the double kill, and Vox is on the run. Will they be able to get him? No, they won't. Vox jumps away, but that opens up the Kraken for Arcane Esports here.
And time again, it's just Itachi jumping in with the Arcane Passage, putting down a Bright Bulwark, and trapping Slain in there. And as soon as Kuros follows through with an Afterburn, Slain just drops once more. No defense at all on this Crystal Kestrel. You typically go for offensive items. Again, it's going to be a body block with the one shot as Kraken gets unleashed, but you typically go for offensive items with Kestrel, but you need to have at least one defensive item. You need to be able to survive just a little bit, and that's just not happening right now for Slain. Is getting taken out immediately in every single one of these recent team fights, and now with Kraken pushing into the base and only 3 turrets remaining, if it happens again, that's going to be game over.
Yep, they most definitely need to be careful here. Yeah, I do agree with Slain does need a defensive item, I believe, up against Kuros here, because he's dealing most of the damage to him with these afterburns in and the criticals to come through after that. So definitely need to be careful there, but Kraken's pushing now. But so does the side of Arcane Esports. They're gonna bulwark in. Once again, Kestrel's gonna be taken out, and now Vox is gonna be the next target to focus. He's gonna escape the base. Grace is gonna jump onto the side of Arcane Esports, but they're unable to beat them back right now. Kraken is advancing forward, and they are looking to maybe finish this game. Afterburn in once again. Vox is unable to get away. Bulwark was beautiful to stop Vox from getting away with the jumps, and now Idris is going full in. He's tanking 2 turrets. He's not gonna care, however. They get the ace, and Kraken, as well as the side of Arcane Esports, are gonna push the Vain Crystal down.
A consolation prize coming through for Slain in that one-shot, one-kill at the end, but this was once the members of Arcane Esports recognized their win conditions in these team fights and knew that they could get onto Slain every single time, it was all over. It was Fateless, and Kuros had so much burst damage that Slain would just get popped immediately, making these fights a 2 versus 3. And there are very few teams that can win 2 versus 3 fights on a regular basis. And unfortunately, Late Cobras falling to the members of Arcane Esports in game number 1. A couple things that could definitely change. Their early game was fairly strong, but you need to get, once you recognize that your opponents are trying to do that, you need to get some form of defensive item onto this Kestrel, because otherwise you see what the end results look like.
Pretty decisive game there towards the end, especially when you have a CP Idris on your side. Allow him to scale and generally good things will come to you, and that's exactly what Arcane did. They weathered the storm perfectly and were able to get towards that late game for themselves. Heading towards the second game, I don't feel like Late Cobras did anything too wrong in the late game. I think it was more some issues towards the early game where they didn't push their advantage far enough, and then they didn't necessarily respect the fact that their opponents had caught up to them.
Yep, most definitely there. The gold lead at one point did start to get in favor of Arcane Esports there in the mid game, so most definitely the game was pretty equal throughout early the mid game there, even though Late Cobras did get the early turret, and we're looking pretty strong in the early game.
Alright, well, we're just getting this all set up here, ready for our second game. We do have some stats, I believe, that we can show you of these two teams, so I just bring them up here. These are brought to you by VGPro.gg and are the top win rate heroes that these guys play in ranked. You can see that everyone here pretty much sticking to the role that they're playing here today, which is great. I think that's really important when you do get to this this higher end of challenges, that you do stick to the roles that you are used to. But jumping into the draft, you've now got a taste of what they like to play in solo queue. Let's see how this second game unfolds for these teams. Arcane Esport up 1, they're able to take the game, then they're in a fantastic spot. Another Celeste ban, clearly respecting the Celeste of... I'm not entirely sure who it is, considering that none of these guys have Celeste in their top played heroes on VG Pro, so maybe I'd have to do a bit of further digging.
Actually, Slane, in terms of all games, has Celeste as one of his top played heroes. It's going to be in second place, 78% win ratio, so maybe that's what they're afraid of, but other than that, yeah, it doesn't look like it. But Baron ban once again coming through, pretty standard stuff there. Though, do we expect to see Grumpjaw banned at the later stages here? Because I noticed that's a pretty common ban, but right now in these 2 games at least, it hasn't been banned.
I think Grumpjaw is, in terms of competitive, is a pick that's fallen off a lot, and a lot of teams have learned how to deal with a Grumpjaw. It's going to be Lyra and then Arden along with the Idris, so Late Cobras moving entirely away from the Grace, not going to have that healing potential on their team. But they do take the Idris away from Fateless. I think that's a very important pickup for them because Fateless was able to just find so much work. But Kuros is going to have the glaive once again, so it will only be Fateless that has to change his hero in game number 2.
For now, It looks like it's going to be a weapon power glaive in the lane, and they're considering if they take the Kestrel as well. Yep, they are going to take the Kestrel. So, in theory, it could be a CP glaive in the jungle, but it's very much likely that they take the weapon power glaive to the lane, which counts as weapon power Idris in the lane specifically, and then they have the Kestrel as a backline threat. Looking like a Scarf being hovered, which means that this Idris would be weapon power. And if that gets locked in for Slane, which it does, then this is actually a really nice draft for Arcane.
Yeah, Arcane are going to have the tools to deal with Late Cobras. As you mentioned, the glaive into the Idris is a very strong matchup for glaive. And then in the jungle, the Kestrel can kind of contest the Scarf. They both have the extreme range on their abilities and lots of burst damage potential. So that one's going to come down to really just who makes the aggressive moves first, and Kestrel will have the earlier power spikes than a Scarf. But if we go late game, that's when this starts to swing a bit towards Late Cobras.
We'll have to find out if Late Cobras can kind of make it to the late game. It's very similar win conditions of Arcane in the previous one. Jumping onto the Halcyon Fold for game 2 here. Let's throw it back to Envision and Tasty Bacon to bring the action.
Yep, well, welcome back to game 2, Late Cobras versus Arcane Esports here. I do think that mid to late game here, speaking about the team compositions there, I do think that the side of Late Cobras is going to have a pretty good and clear advantage there with the Gauntlet to come through as well as the Dragon's Breath from Scarf. The team fight potential is enormous out of these 2 alone. But on the side of Arcane Esports, they're more or less looking like they want to assassinate one of the 2 damage dealers there and get their advantage that way.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's pretty much exactly how they played game number 1. Obviously, it was that the strategy was kind of presented to them by the lack of defense. It's going to be an afterburn in, but nowhere near enough follow-up. Maybe going a little bit too early, as Fateless didn't really have time to rotate up to the lane fully to take advantage of that afterburn. But one of the nice things about playing glaive in the lane is that the afterburns can come out at any time, whereas when it's a jungle glaive, if you see the glaive anywhere near the lane, the afterburn is coming. Whereas when it's in the lane, you kind of get complacent at times because he's just standing right there. He's farming right in front of you. And you can forget that there might be an afterburn coming at any given moment. So I actually really like the lane glaive because of that sort of like little mind game that gets played as well in this matchup.
Yeah, of course, with the Fateless able to rotate as well without being seen in terms of the active camo. So the ganks are going to come out of nowhere basically here. Exactly because the glaive is in the lane, and there's always that constant threat of an afterburn coming in, and you can't really predict that as much as with the jungle blade. But now afterburn in, oh, the Arden's falling also low, but he's gonna be able to get away with just a sliver of HP there. Tank the turret for a little bit, but he needs the back now. And Scarf is just clearing the jungle, getting the Elder Treant meanwhile. So the side of late Cobras are not letting this decide their game right now. They're giving Scarf the free time to farm up. Of course, Scarf is really good into the late game, so Scarf does need that farm pretty bad.
And the interesting thing about this game number 2 is both teams actually had a bit of a role swap. Kuros was playing jungle last game, so obviously they're just more confident in Kuros playing this glaive than they are with Fateless, so that's the swap there. But on the side of Elite Cobras, same thing. Slain is now in the lane when he was the jungler in game number 1. So X-Dragon will be the one roaming the jungle with this Scarf. But I gotta say, oh, actually, I didn't even notice there was a duel going on in the jungle. That was my apologies there. First blood does go to X-Dragon. Scarf able to find advantages in the early game, and a lot of that was because of so much time was spent by Fateless trying to make these ganks happen in the lane, and during all of that, Scarf was just casually farming up and had a little bit of an item lead over Fateless when they went toe-to-toe.
Yep, of course, the level advantage coming through as well. Scarf was level 5, while Fateless was only level 4 there, so the level advantage also coming into effect there, because the Scarf was able to farm while Fateless was kind of focusing on the lane in the free time. But now it seems like Fateless is looking for a gank to happen here, maybe just a little bit of poke in the lane. So maybe now Scarf is gonna rotate into the lane here, but nope, just gonna go for a casual shop. Might be caught out here actually. Yep, as he's going to be found out by Lyra and Glaive. Glaive does have the afterburn in, the coup to come through. Afterburn and Bulwark, he's going to get bursted down. Kestrel picks up that kill. That's exactly what Fateless needed here, as X-Dragon is already level 6. Fateless only being level 5 there, so he's going to be able to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, that was a much needed kill onto the Scarf. I mean, we've mentioned so many times Scarf needs to be shut down early, and that just has not happened here. So the side of Arcane Esports need to be careful that they don't just let this Scarf get to the late game power spikes really early. You typically, Scarf, once you get to about an 18-minute mark, will become just this massive, unstoppable presence. But if you don't keep it in check, if you don't try and invade the Scarf, if you don't try anything to shut him down, there's sometimes Scarfs can get to that late game presence, that 2 to 3 item power spike at the 13 to 15-minute mark. And if you allow that to happen, you're basically asking to be pushed in and punished heavily by the damage that's going to come out of this dragon. So you really want to see them make more moves like that, make more efforts to get into the late Cobra's jungle and try and prevent this Scarf from having just free farm all game.
Yep, looking at the side of late Cobras, they haven't put up any traps. They don't have too much vision in their jungle as well. So if the side of Arcane Esports does decide to rotate there, they are not going to be spotted out whatsoever. So they definitely could make these aggressive moves without being seen, as well as Fateless having that active camo as well is able to chase down Scarf in the invisibility, at least for a little while there. As we have a little bit of a clash in the lane. Arden's going to go in. Oh, the afterburn out there. So Arcane Esports are going to disengage off of this turret here. But Glimmer shots are going to land, so a little bit of poke. Scarf now coming into lane as well. All 3 members are there. Arden's going to advance forward, shield himself. The Bulwark to come through. Lyra's falling lower and lower. The Chakram return doesn't hit, and the Fountain was used as well. Lyra is falling pretty low here, so they need to be careful. Lyra needs to heal himself up as these Spitfires are coming through. Afterburn in. It's going to catch on to Idris. Idris is going to run away, however. Arden is being the focus now, but Glaive is gonna fall the Dragon's Fire Breath as X-Dragon does channel that one up, and now the turret push on the other side of the playing field there as Lyra putting down the poke. One shot, one kill's gonna land onto Arden, who's gonna fall low here. So the side of late Cobras
And unfortunately, guys, we lost the Spectate client feed, so we will be continuing to give you the wonderful radio cast as Arcane Esports pushes in with the recalls from the side of Late Cobras and take that first turret of the game. We will be trying to get the feed back up as soon as possible, but once again, apologies for that technical difficulty.
Meanwhile, lane is being pushed by late Cobras there. They're gonna rotate into the jungle. They're finally getting them traps down now near the gold miner, so they're gaining some vision, some much needed vision there in order to stay safe in their own jungle. Of course, Scarf is level 8 now, so that aggression might be coming up as well. Or they're gonna find Lyra here. Lyra is gonna have to run away. The coup to come down. Lyra's not gonna fall, and the glimmer shots are just coming through in the lane as seems like Arcane Esports are now rotating into the enemy jungle here. Yeah, they're Kestro's rotating, being spotted out by flares here, so he's gonna have to run away here.
Yeah, Kestrel was hoping to try and finish off X-Dragon after getting so much damage down onto the Scarf, but he got spotted out by a scout trap early on, and so everyone was able to back away from that. So no kills coming through off of that little skirmish, but for now, it's just going to be, again, these two junglers farming up, really just focusing on trying to get these item spikes. X-Dragon, because there aren't many fights going on, is going to be building into that Eve of Harvest, so he has that little bit of extra sustain. And it makes a lot of sense because these fights have been so burst-focused. It's a lot of just really quick hitting skirmishes that are coming out. And so you want to just be able to have that sustain to deal with the burst. But Arcane Passage in.
Yep, as we have Afterburn in as well. The Glaive's gonna deal a lot of damage. Scarf is gonna fall. The gauntlet comes through. Glaive is unable to get out of it, but the Crystal Sigil is not even focusing onto him. So he's gonna be able to get away. Imperial Sigil is gonna heal them up, and they're gonna stay in a pretty good health situation there, rotating into the lane. But again, the damage coming out of Glaive in this game too as well is pretty significant. The X-Dragon is getting caught out by these afterburns, by the damage coming through from Glaive once more.
And it's a similar situation to what we saw in game number 1, where the junglers really don't have any defensive items at all, as an immense gold payout goes over to Arcane. And having a jungler with no defense, even though both teams have that same situation, the members of Arcane Esports are able to take advantage of it a bit better because of that Arcane Passage and Afterburn. They can dive in deep, get onto X-Dragon right away before he has a chance to react. And because of that lack of defense, he's just going to get blown up time and time again. So you really need to see X-Dragon and Fateless both need to pick up some defense. That's going to be a nice Afterburn again.
Afterburn in, Arden's going to be focused here. He's going to fall low. The fountain's being used. One shot, one kill's going to land onto Scarfire. The Spitfire is beautifully onto Kestrel, spotting that one out. As the side of Arcane Esports are taking pretty heavy damage here from those Spitfires. So Scarf is coming online pretty soon here in terms of damage-wise. So should be a pretty significant boost in terms of team fighting for a late Cobras here, but Arcane Esports are gonna clear those traps, just missing one, which is gonna spot the movement out there for the gold miner side.
Yeah, X-Dragon, once he gets that Broken Myth completed, that's when the Scarf will be able to do a ton of damage, as long as he survives long enough. And so, again, it's going to come down to Itachi with these Arcane Passages. If he can get into the team and allow this Glaive from Karos to get onto X-Dragon, the fight should still go the way of Arcane Esports, regardless of how many offensive items X-Dragon is able to pick up. So now it looks like they might be trying to set up something. Kestrel's in her active camo, but there's plenty of scout traps. That's going to be Afterburn anyway.
Scarf is going to fall lower. The Arcane Passage 4 doesn't catch Scarf this time, so Arcane Esports has to stay a little bit safe here with how they fight this next fight, because they do not have Arcane Passage here. So, but I noticed that X-Dragon did pick up Reflex Block, and that is a pretty good item versus a Glaive that's going to Afterburn stun you. So if he's able to block those stuns, it's definitely going to improve those team fights for the side of late Cobras.
And that's going to be absolutely key. Finally getting that reflex block. And like you mentioned, if he's able to reflex block the afterburns, then the Scarf's going to be able to back off, start throwing out Spitfires, get a goop down. You can really start punishing Arcane Esports for how aggressively they are trying to dive onto him. So going to be very, very key, the timing of those reflex blocks. We're only 12 minutes into this one. It feels like it's been in a slightly accelerated game because everyone is already up to these late game item spikes very early on. Again, X-Dragon very, very close now to finishing off his next tier 3 item. And it's just going to be a situation where Broken Myth will be the one that comes out first. So it's going to have that ramp up. As long as Scarf can survive, will just continuously increase in damage. But Fateless, look at Fateless's item build, going with the double Shatterglass, just wanting as much pure burst damage as possible. And you can see it actually does quite a bit of damage to this turret. 393 damage per Glimmer Shot. And that comes out. And this is going to give an opportunity to Arcane Esports to try and siege up onto objectives, because they know that they will have that range advantage and able to get just constant poke and chip damage onto the turrets.
Yep, but however, Fateless's build does open up another point of combat or another point of winning in fights for late Cobras there, as he's going full burst, but unless he gets those Glimmer Shots perfectly on point, it's going to be difficult to dish out a damage. And with as aggressive as Arcane Esports are going, it means that they're opening up. If they don't get the perfect initiation, they're going to be out of oh my god, they're not going to be in spot to actually do the defensive wind up there. So they're not going to be able to get away. So the counter initiation coming through from late Cobras there could be pretty significant unless Arcane Esports plays their initiations perfectly, as we're going to see Coop as well as Afterburn over the wall. It's going to land onto Idris. The Bulwark coming in once again, but Dragon's Fire Breath is going to be channeled. Those stacks wrapping up on Scarf. He's dealing a lot of damage. Glaive is still somehow alive. Scarf falls. One shot, one kill onto Idris as well. And now the third member, Arden's going to fall as well. Ace for the side of Arcane Esports as Glaive picks up the last kill there.
That was a very, very good fight. Both teams actually positioning quite well in that fight, but unfortunately for the side of late Cobras, I mean, the Kestrel Fateless was able to stay just out of range of everything. Didn't get hit by the Dragon's Breath. Wasn't getting hit by any damage from Slain. And Glaive was just hanging out in the front lines, able to dish out a ton of damage, staying alive with the Poison Shiv lifesteal and the health gain from the Sigil. Now they need to be careful if they don't stick around here too long with the Crystal Sentry. They are going to be backing away, but now with Kestrel rotating, they could perhaps look to set up an active camo trap for late Cobras to walk into, but it's not going to be happening just yet, as Kraken has awakened, and we could see Arcane look for another fight.
Up after burning in once again. Scarf is going to be caught out. The Idris is way far out. The one shot, one kill landing onto Arden. Gets the gauntlet down, but it's not going to matter because it's going to expire here in just a second. Arcane passage forward. Polwork's coming in once again. The afterburn onto Scarf. He's going to be caught out, and Idris is the last man surviving. He's going to have to run here. If he gives them the ace, it's going to be pretty bad, but they're just going to go for the Kraken. They're going to ignore this Idris, which is the correct call there. The Kraken is for free right now.
All right, well, with Arcane pushing into this Kraken, it's going to be taken no contest, and this is not looking good for the members of late Cobras. Arcane Esports have looked very clean down the stretch in this game. They've been able to find the damage. This Glaive is working so well for them. And Glaive Lyra combo has just really shut down everything that late Cobras want to do in these fights. And now with Kraken pushing in towards the base, this choke point turret is already very, very low and is going to be going down quickly. We'll see how much work Arcane are able to do on these Bane Crystal turrets.
Arcane passage, and once again they have to burn onto Scarf. Scarf's gonna be in trouble. He's not gonna be in trouble anymore. He's dead. As Idris is the last man surviving once again for the side of Late Cobras. Don't think he can do too much versus 3 people, and the Kraken one-shot, 1 kill's not gonna land. And the first turret has already fallen there for the base, and after burning in once again onto Idris, they're gonna get the kill. It's an ace and a game 2 for Arcane Esports as well.
Again, such clean team fighting down the stretch for Arcane Esports. Very, very similar to what we saw in game number 1. It was just Arcane passage, getting Glaive onto the back lines, and then he could extend the distance by using that afterburn and catch targets out that were on the back lines, able to find those kills over and over again down the stretch. And Fateless just having to throw out glimmer shots and just clip people with that burst damage on the tail end of it. Really well-played game from the members of Arcane Esports. Well-played series, and they are going to be taking this one 2-0.
They certainly will, Tasty Bacon. Super big apologies, guys, for the technical difficulties. Unfortunately, we lost the game feed, and it is unfixable unless I do a full PC restart, meaning that we are going to have to go down. The stream will go down for roughly 5 minutes time, and we'll be back after that. So super big apologies to that, guys. I really appreciate you guys sticking around. Unfortunately, out of my hands, did everything I knew how to fix it. And unfortunately we didn't get there. We will be having another game coming up, and it's going to be a great one as well. Up next is going to be Magic Cloud versus Angry Pandas Black, which, if you guys remember, didn't quite have the experience, I guess, that it wanted to. Angry Pandas Black, a very talented roster, but the players couldn't quite make it deep into the